You wake before dawn, you always have. The candle on the map table has burned to a stub. The men around you are quiet. The kind of quiet that happens when everyone in the room understands that what happens in the next 72 hours will either save France or end it. You are Joseph Joffre, Commander-in-Chief of the French army. And the Germans are 40 miles from Paris. The village of Rivesaltes is where you begin. Catalonia born, French to the bone. Your father is a barrel maker. His hands are thick and patient. He works the same way every morning, methodically, without drama, without complaint. You watch him and you learn something that no school ever teaches you, that endurance is a form of intelligence. The house is small. There are 11 children. You are the eldest. You understand early what that means. You eat last, you carry more. You do not ask for things to be fair. You ask yourself what needs doing and you do it. The Pyrenees are visible from the edge of town on clear days, big and permanent and indifferent. You stare at them as a boy and feel something harden in your chest. Not ambition exactly, not yet. More like the understanding that the world is large and does not wait. You are a good student, not the brilliant kind, the grinding kind, the kind that reads the same page 4 times until it stays. You sit the entrance examination for the École Polytechnique, France's great military and technical school, and you pass. You pack one bag. You say goodbye to your father's hands. You do not cry. That is also something you learn from him. Paris is a different world. The Polytechnique is discipline and geometry and the precise science of engineering. You eat it up, not because it is easy, because it is not. You learn to build fortifications, to read terrain, to move men and materials through space as if the landscape itself is an equation to be solved. You graduate. You are commissioned as a second lieutenant in the artillery. The year is 1870, and France is about to learn a hard lesson. The Franco-Prussian War arrives like a verdict. France loses. Fast. Humiliatingly fast. Paris is besieged. The government collapses. You are a young officer watching your country break apart, and something in that watching changes you permanently. You do not forget it. You do not file it away. You carry it forward like a tool. The decades after are long and unglamorous. You serve in Indochina. You serve in West Africa, Formosa. You build, you command, you solve logistical problems that have no elegant solutions. You move troops through jungle heat and coastal mud. You learn that wars are won by the man who can keep his army fed and moving when every other condition is impossible. You learn that clarity is a weapon. That composure in a crisis is worth more than 10 brilliant plans that fall apart under pressure. You rise, slowly, steadily, without scandal, without flash. By 1911, you are chief of the General Staff. By 1913, you are commander-in-chief of the French army. Here's what people misunderstand about you. They see the big body, the slow walk, the famous appetite for long dinners and uninterrupted sleep. They think it is laziness. It is not. It is control. You learned long ago that a commander who panics teaches his army to panic. You keep your voice even because you need the men around you to believe the situation is manageable even when it is not, especially when it is not. You do not perform calm. You enforce it on yourself first. August 1914 arrives, and it tears everything open. Germany invades Belgium, the great machine of the Schlieffen Plan. Germany's strategy to knock France out fast by sweeping through the north and encircling Paris begins to grind forward. You have planned for a war. Not quite this war. Your own offensive in Alsace-Lorraine, Plan Tixi, fails. It fails badly. The French army surges east into German guns and loses tens of thousands of men in the first weeks. The casualties come back in numbers that do not look real. You read them at your desk and your face does not move. Inside is different. Inside you understand that you have sent men to die on ground you misread. That the doctrine of aggressive attack which France has spent a decade building, the belief that French elan, French spirit and speed can break any defense, has just met the machine gun and been proved wrong in the most expensive way possible. The Germans push west, then north, then west again. The Schlieffen sweep is working. By late August, the French Fifth Army is in full retreat. The British Expeditionary Force is retreating. Paris is ahead, and the German First Army under General von Kluck is moving toward it like a tide. The French government flees to Bordeaux. Short sentences for what happens next, because that is how it feels. Retreating, retreating, still retreating, 600,000 men moving backward, roads clogged, units cut off, commanders losing nerve, messages arriving that contradict each other, maps becoming unreliable within hours. The enemy moving faster than the reports about them. You keep eating. You keep sleeping 6 hours a night, not because you're unconcerned, because you have decided that this is the only way to keep thinking clearly when no one else can. Here's the part nobody tells you easily. You relieve commanders during the retreat. A lot of them. 72 generals removed in the first 6 weeks of the war. Some of them are men you have known for years. Men with families, men with reputations. Men who are not cowards, but who have been broken by what they have seen or are too rigid to adapt to what is actually happening instead of what they planned for. You sign the orders, you hand them to the dispatch runner. You go back to the map. There is a general named Lenrezak. He commanded the 5th Army. He is intelligent, probably more tactically gifted than you, but he has lost confidence in the mission. He is arguing with British commanders instead of coordinating with them. He is hesitating when the situation demands movement. You remove him. He does not understand. Some of the staff do not understand. You understand clearly. A hesitant army at this moment does not lose ground. It loses France. You write the order. You feel nothing easy about it. You do it anyway. There is a cost to commanding this way. It accumulates quietly. Every night, when the reports come in and the numbers tell you how many men have died that day, you read them. You do not share what reading them does to you. That is not something the army can afford to know. August 25th, August 28th, September 1st. The retreat continues. Paris is panicking. Politicians are calling for a last stand inside the city. Generals are asking for permission to stop and fight in positions that are not right. There is pressure coming from every direction. The British are threatening to withdraw entirely to the coast and refit. The government wants answers you cannot honestly give. You tell them the situation is under control. You're not certain it is, but certainty right now is something you manufacture and distribute because the alternative is collapse. There is one night. You will not put it in any report. It will not appear in any dispatch. When you sit alone at the map table after midnight, and you look at the lines of retreat marked in blue and the lines of German advance marked in red, and you think, this may not work, not in panic, not in despair, just as a fact held for a moment, then set aside. You have never been a man who found comfort in illusion. You have always found it more useful to look at the worst case clearly and then decide what to do about it. You pour water. You go back to work. Then something happens on the German side that changes everything. Von Kluck's First Army turns. Instead of continuing southwest toward Paris and completing the encirclement, it turns southeast, cutting across in front of Paris instead of around it. Why? To chase the retreating French Fifth Army. To finish it before it can recover. That turn exposes von Kluck's right flank. You see it on the map before anyone else fully grasps what it means. Your intelligence officer brings you the aerial reconnaissance report. You read it once, then again, then you call your senior staff in. You show them the gap. The gap between von Kluck's army and the German First Army to its right. A gap that is growing, a gap that, if hit fast enough with the right force, could split the German advance, force a retreat, and save Paris. You have 6 days, maybe fewer. Once the German armies realize the exposure and correct it, the window is gone. This is the moment. Not dramatic from the outside, no thunderclap, no crowd, just you, a map, a decision, and the absolute knowledge that you have one chance and it has to be now. You call for the orders to be prepared. You call General Gallieni in Paris, the military governor, and you coordinate the use of the Paris garrison forces. You call the British commander French, and you ask him to hold and then advance. You call Foch, you call Franchet Desperé. You pull the pieces together with the same methodical patience you learned watching your father's hands on the barrels in Rivesaltis. On September 5, 1914, you issue the order. The French army stops retreating. It turns around. The Battle of the Marne begins. The next 9 days are unlike anything the modern world has seen. 2 million men collide along a front of nearly 200 miles. The Marne River is the line. Paris is what's behind it. The future of the entire war is the stakes. You cannot be at the front. You are at your headquarters, which is the right place to be and the hardest place to stand. Reports arrive in pieces, incomplete, contradictory. Units that were ordered forward have not moved. Units that were supposed to be reinforced have been overlooked. The fog of battle at this scale is not metaphor. It is a physical condition, a blindness that no map can fully cure. You send Joffre's famous message, though you do not think of it as famous, you think of it as necessary. You tell your commanders, I call on every soldier who can still advance to do so. Any soldier who cannot go forward must die where he stands. In this moment, retreat is not permitted. You mean it. Every word. Foch is in the center. His situation looks catastrophic. Both flanks of his army are threatened. His line is bent, near breaking. He sends back a message that becomes one of the most quoted dispatches of the war. My center is giving way. My right is in retreat. Situation. Excellent. I attack. You read it, and for the first time in weeks, something that is almost a smile crosses your face. That is a man who understands what this moment is. On September 9th, the German High Command orders a retreat. Von Kluck pulls back. The gap widens. The Germans withdraw to the Aisne River. Paris is saved. France is saved. The war that was supposed to end in 6 weeks by German design will now grind on for 4 more years, but Germany has lost its only chance to win it fast. The Schlieffen Plan is finished. You receive the news at your headquarters. The staff are relieved, some visibly shaken with the release of it. You issue the orders for pursuit. You go to dinner. There are men who call you the savior of France. There are politicians who want to celebrate. There will be a marshal's baton eventually, the highest rank the French military can bestow, and there will be photographs and ceremonies and history books. You accept the honors correctly. You do not mistake them for the truth. The truth is that von Kluck turned when he should not have turned, and you saw it before anyone else, and you had built an army that could respond when you told it to. That is what the Marne actually is, not genius. Preparation meeting an opponent's mistake at the exact moment when you had the composure to recognize it. But here's what the photographs do not show. The dead. The numbers are so large they become abstract the way all large numbers do, and that abstraction is its own kind of horror because you knew they were not abstract. September 1914 alone, France loses over 200,000 men killed and wounded. The total French military dead by the end of the war will exceed 1,300,000. You commanded that army. You made those decisions, you removed those generals and issued those orders and drew those lines on those maps. The Marne is yours. So is everything it cost. The years afterward are complicated in the way that all long victories are complicated. You command through 1914, 1915, 1916, the Somme, Verdun, battles that swallow hundreds of thousands of men in exchange for miles of mud. The strategic logic of them is real. The cost of them is also real. Both things are true at once, and that tension never resolves cleanly. By late 1916, the political pressures have accumulated to the point where you are removed from direct command and promoted sideways, made a Marshal of France, which is an honor that is also a removal. You understand this. You do not protest. You have never believed that protest was useful. You spend the rest of the war in an advisory role. You visit America when the United States enters in 1917. You are received as a hero. The crowds are generous and enthusiastic, and have not yet learned what the war actually feels like from inside it. You smile and you say the right things, and at night you go back to your room and you go to sleep, because that is still what you do. When the armistice comes in November 1918, you are 66 years old. France has survived. The nation you swore to defend in 1870 when you watched it humiliated and broken, it has survived. The thing you quietly carried for 44 years, the weight of that earlier defeat, has been answered. That matters. You allow yourself to know that it matters. What also matters, and what you carry in the other hand, is the weight of every name you do not know and every name you do. The soldiers at the Marne, who turned around because you told them to. The commanders you removed who went home quietly with their careers finished. The tens of thousands who held the line for 9 days in September heat, while 2 million men decided the fate of a century. You remember the map table? The candle stub. The gap in the German line that appeared in an aerial reconnaissance report at a moment when the situation looked unrecoverable. You saw it. You moved. France lived. History calls that genius. You call it readiness. The Marne saved Paris. You're still carrying the men it cost to do it.